Good morning, I'm Corey, and this is my craft cave. I am taking up the challenge offered by Jessica Rapp of 2 silver oranges to get my cave crafting space organized. And even though this is my 3rd video, I tried and I am not a YouTuber, but I have some ideas in here that I'm hoping might help others, and that is my purpose with this. And I did just upgrade it or change it up a little bit. This craft cave is a sectioned off piece of the garage. The people who lived here previously framed it in, so there are no windows. I had to go with some extra light. I do paper crafts of all sorts and kind of evolved over time as far as how this is working for me, and I just made a new change that works really well, so I'm going to move on in. So that was the door I told you about. This is the wall when you first come in the door, and that piece is a repurposed piece from a yard sale. It was that metal unit with the 4 baskets is available at Hobby Lobby, or at least it was, but the lady had broken a leg and gave it away for $5. And so I just used a hacksaw and cut off the rest of the legs. And now it stores envelopes and file folders and bubble wrap and mailing things. And my beloved shrine to Joe Montana, the best quarterback of all time. This piece on the wall here that I'm going up is a bookcase, and there was one of 2 that I got for inexpensive, $20 maybe, on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. And the reason I'm showing you this is it's not standing like a bookcase should, and it's not sectioned like a bookcase normally is. But I took those pieces and put in some wood nailing strips and mounted it up to the wall, which is where I needed the storage. That's probably my first tip. When you're creating your craft space, go up. Walls are hugely underused. Now, if you've got mobility issues or stability issues, don't go above where you can safely reach. Don't make yourself a fall risk. But if you're able to, use that height. Go as high as you can. This piece currently houses my die cut machines, and my extra Starbucks cards, and idea books, and the junk journals I'm working in, and those types of things. And then old collections that I don't use are on top of it, though I still love them. And when I come down here, this was originally intended to be a die cut station, and it just kind of didn't work well that way, so I changed it. It holds embossing folders and stencils and templates and my sign that sits directly across from me with my work at my desk to remind me of who I am and why I do this. That's one of the few IKEA pieces in the room, and I got it because I can easily take those containers out and bring them to my desk when I'm working. They're not things I use frequently, pencils and water pencils and that type of stuff, and some extra paintbrushes, but I wanted them handy so I didn't forget about them. Raskog carts. Can't say speak highly enough of them. They're sturdy, they're durable, they're metal, heavy duty metal, and they're $30-ish at Costco, not Costco, excuse me, IKEA. That particular one holds stamping card bases and my acrylic stamp sets. Right directly across from me is the area I made to be a die cut station and didn't really function that way, but it's a great catch-all. That's my work in progress basket. Yes, it's empty for the moment, though I of course have more projects, but ones that I'm actually working on. And it's super handy. This is just a kitchen cabinet base top. So the upper kitchen cabinet, and it was free on Facebook because somebody was remodeling their kitchen. And they're the wood stamps that I don't use all the time, extra embossing powders, I don't know, stamping type stuff, extra stuff. And it's accessible if I need it, but it's also not visible. Really inexpensive. Then as you come back into the room, I'm going to go back up. The second piece of the bookcase, there were 2 bookcases. When I repurposed this, I did it deliberately to fit these particular storage units. There are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 16, so 24 drawers in each unit, and I've got 3 of the units. And they are absolutely perfect for keeping bulb pins and safety pins and brads and tchotchkes and ribbon and eyelets and little tiny flowers and stuff from scrapbooking days that I still use now. Keeps them organized. Scrabble tiles and pieces to make charms and dangles for junk journals. All that kind of little stuff is there and stored easily. And then my kids' scrapbooks that are still works in progress. are up above those, and the kids will get those someday. And then I'm coming back down and around to show you where I actually do the majority of my work. It's my U-shaped desk. And the way I built this was, a friend offered me her China hutch tops. Her husband had made them and she rearranged her craft room and didn't need them. And they were perfect for what I wanted. I just cut off the back and cut down the legs a little bit. And the things I reach for all the time, that's my second, I guess, vice, wisdom, what have you. The things I use all the time, the charm pieces, and I'm not a bead person, but I like to put them in journals and paper crafts and such. So big chunky flowers, my metal dies, glitter, which I don't use all the time, but it's there. And then punches, which I do use. And these inexpensive canvas bins hold pens, Copics, Stabilos, and all of those other kinds of things. Punches. This drawer is adhesives, the ones that I don't reach for a lot, but I still need. Purple tape and clips for junk journals, and then again more punches based on theme. Ribbon, brads, Kleenex, baby wipes, that kind of stuff. Right here, if I'm working, I can just reach for it. Super handy. And so this piece is U-shaped. I just used inexpensive wood and then topped it with a piece of plexiglass so that if I paint it, it's soft wood, so it gets dinged up pretty easy. And if I need to replace the plexiglass, it was maybe $15 or so. And then I've got a magnifier because my eyes are getting old, and extra light because it's dark in here. And I use the, I like the little dies for some reason, and the little Sissix comes in handy for that. This is it was a scrapbooking, oh, you can see it there, scrapbooking file holder. And I use it now for my junk journaling supplies, for the papers that I've dyed, and extra papers, and graph papers, and line papers, and maps, and acetate, and vellum, and all of those things, and it's really handy. Then this is the center section of the U, and I found that I wasn't using this space, and I needed to, and I wanted to. So this pad paper to protect my work surface when I'm doing something really messy, and my ATG gun, and the little trimmer that I reach for. It's not finished the same color, and that's okay. It works. I added it after the fact because I wanted something. And then this is the same thing on the other side, the other piece to the hutch top. That's just closing in at hand so I can dry off my stamps after I clean them. Paper, Nina, Solar Crest, white cardstock, and this bin is my junk journal punches, junk journal all, and sewing kit, I guess is what I would call it. And then my printer, which I absolutely hate. And the top of my desk, I'll come to that. But more of these canvas bins. And this was one of my better ideas that I'm hoping somebody might be able to use. Just a canvas bin. And then I took different pieces of storage plastic. I'll use my filthy, dirty sweatpants knees to show you. I sewed some of the storage plastic. I folded it and sewed it to make pockets for my junk journal ephemera. The solid pieces I use to build on, and other pieces, and the just storage. There's anything under the sun you can think of in here. Guest checks and vellum envelopes and plastic envelopes and sleeves and slides and mounts and coin cards and just stuff. It's chock full of stuff. But when I'm building, I can easily grab it. And this is the flowery butterfly and Tim Holtz people and tickets and all of that kind of stuff ephemera. And I just use the same exact canvas bin, even though you're thinking, huh, what? And I cut it and made it narrower and put in some chipboard to suit what I needed. And then my mailing stamps, the ones I collect, are in the cigar box. Down below, this ugly bin is paper scraps. I create a lot of paper scraps. I use a lot of paper scraps, and it made sense to me to have them super handy and easy. When I need a color, I just grab that bin, and when I have an extra piece, I just toss it right back in that bag. And right next to it is another tote that holds the paper that I'm using most frequently right now. Some like my Tim Holtz pads, and some of these are projects that I had ideas for, and just put them in containers with like-minded items, just for convenience sake. Top of my desk is probably the most handy, and what I'm hoping that people might get ideas from. Those are washi bins available at Michael's, maybe Joanne, something like that. But I guess my point with this is everything on here is something I reach for all the time. Those pieces are extra, I use them to punch holes in my seams for my signatures. I make those signature holes so I can sew it. I fold those over, so I keep them there because I use them. Punch board and scoreboard and Tim Holtz scissors and a little poking tool and envelope makers, scissors. Again, this is one of those IKEA racks. It wasn't spendy at all, but it allows me to keep my work desk clean. When I'm done with something, it's easy to put it back because it's right in reach. I don't have to put it on my desk and let it get buried forever. T-ruler, knives, cutting, all kinds of cutting and poking instruments, bone folder. This one is just the big punchy chompy things, corner rounder, corner chomper, crocodile, the things I use all the time. And right next to it to do dangles and clips and nail files. And then you come down to the top of the work desk, and then there's a light because this room is so dark because it's no lights, caves. It needed that extra light. And then adhesive and word strips. And over here, I don't have all my glues or things, but the ones that I reach for all the time are here. So acrylic blocks to hold things down while I glue, and blending brushes and art glitter glue and Fabri-Tac. And my personal favorite glue, Connect Glue by Gina K. The stamp pads I use, just the stuff that you need at hand. So that makes it really convenient to keep my work desk clean-ish. And though it's certainly not clean, I've got splatters and paint and so on. It works as far as it's not untidy. And then over here, more things that I reach for frequently, things that make me smile. Joe Turtle sign. And this behind where I work, so the back of my U, is laminated plywood, and I built this unit. This piece on the right was a cube set that I bought from Stacy Julian years and years and years and years ago. We even used it as a dresser at some point. And then I've just kind of repurposed it over time and stained it, and it holds extra trimmers and longer books and chipboard pieces and stuff. Oh, that whole big bit in the middle is alphabet stickers. And so more paper, pattern paper, things that I use frequently and want to have access to, but don't need right at hand. And then stamps, ink pads and distress inks and oxide inks and refillers and such. Ephemera, larger ephemera that doesn't fit in the small things. And that's going to be my idea book. Old scrapbooking stuff. And then just bins of things that I want to have accessible but don't use all the time. Page protectors and so on. And then I built, next to that, I used that same laminated plywood, a way to store my paper. And as a paper crafter, scrapbooker for many, many years, I've come up with the way that works best for me. There's no one right way to store paper, but I don't like dust, and I don't like to dust. So this was a really efficient way for me to do it, and I just used a router and the saw and made this holder. I still use my quick cuts letters, and those are mostly larger things that are for particular projects. Down in the bottom is memorabilia and 8.5 by 11 paper. And again, it's right behind me, so it's super easy to get to. If you go up and to the left, that's the door from my craft room to the garage. And next to that is my inspiration board and the water heater and the furnace. So my one word this year is challenge, so I'm challenging myself to do this. I've done Ali Edwards' Word of the Year for, well, since I remember from 2008, but I think I did it before that, I just didn't document it. And then I'm going to zoom out so that you can see the other pieces that I really love. Raskog cart, this is my newest one, it's my mixed media cart, and I'm hoping to get more into that. I can just wheel it over when I'm working on it, and mix, clean up, and put away, super simple. Same thing with the sewing machine one, and actually this is the one that convinced me what a great deal it is. I just use a heavy duty magnet to keep the scissors I use for snipping threads right there. And I put a basket upside down and put my sewing machine on top of it. It's sturdy, it's durable, and I can wheel it over and wheel it back in seconds. small bookcase with more books for junk journaling, and then all kinds of antique things, bobbins and buttons and ribbons and lace and trims. And I know it's kind of cluttery looking, but it makes me smile, and I use that little white dish all the time. Rubber mounted stamps that I still love and use frequently. Some vintage lace, more stuff along those lines. So my tips, I guess you could say I was a professional because I have been paid to organize and build people's scrapbook spaces. And the tips that I have are: keep what you use at hand. Other things can get put away. For example, here's my craft closet. So things that I don't use as frequently. That's again a Jessica wrap. Thank you, Jessica. It's a Dremel, which I've had, and then the drill press, which allows me to put holes in all kinds of things to add charms to junk journals and office supplies and things that you need that's just maybe not right at hand. I built this recently to store some longer master boards, Nina Ribena and Kylie Koo's mixed media group. Master boards and longer pieces, fabric that I don't use all the time, Fabri-Tac, Wonder Under, Heat and Bond, that kind of stuff. And then extra fabric and lace and bins and wrapping paper and storage. So I don't use those all the time, so it's not a big deal. I know exactly where they are when I need it. A step stool because the walls are kind of high in here. And then my shopping list. So, oh, I got sidetracked. Sorry about that. My tips, advice are: go high, use your wall space. Put things that you use all the time where you can reach them off your workspace. The biggest thing I saw when I was doing this many years ago for scrapbookers is that people would put their things in so tight that they had no space to actually work. And then they would get a cluttered mess and get frustrated and think, oh, I can't do this. So make sure you've got space to work, but that you've got the things you use a lot available to you, readily available, and you'll use them more and it'll make it easier to clean. My last tip is Jennifer McGuire, who is one of my favorite crafty people ever. She's just the sweetest little dust buster. It's right next to my stand. I can vacuum up and paper scraps in seconds, and it helps me keep my room tidy. So if you have any questions, comments, please feel free to comment below, and I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. And I hope this gave you some ideas and maybe to look at things in a different light to make your space work for you. Thank you.